What? I think you need to think that one over again. Are we doing the same thing today that we did yesterday? The answer is no. All right, here we go. Quiet, please. All right, so yesterday we finished up with the last, well, technically it's the last challenging part of the chapter, believe it or not, is to get you through addition, subtraction. Today is a practice day on everything. Like, it's going to be a combination of addition and subtraction. Usually what happens is, you know, if all we're doing is addition or all we're doing is subtraction, the kids do fine. They get locked in on that one specific rule, and they're like, okay, I see the pattern, I got it. And then I start mixing things together, addition and subtraction. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes the wheels fall off. All right, let's get rid of the homework first. Any questions on the homework? Obviously, the answers were on the back, and you were supposed to check. Any questions? All right. So I will collect that here in a second when I pass out the sheets for today. But before we go over this, we're not going to do this like as a class together. We're going to do it individually, what we're about to do, which is a combination of addition and subtraction. We're going to talk about how big boys, big girls do these problems, right? We got the rules. You guys paying attention? Yeah. We have the rules, but I want to absolutely positive, because some of you are already doing it. I want to show you how people literally do these problems. I mean, the rules are well, they tell us the reason why we can do these things, but the rules are not, I mean, strictly enforced. Like, literally, we don't write absolute value of both numbers. When we take called mathematical shortcuts, the shortcuts are based upon the truth of the rules, but in all practicality, like when you literally are faced with that problem right there, you don't actually do all the steps that I taught you. And most of you right now are skipping them anyway because you've already figured this out yourself. So this is just to get everyone on the same sheet of music of the shortcuts, Josh. So here's the deal. There's only two cases here, right? And they're not addition, subtraction. There's just two cases. There are the cases when you can see that you got two numbers and you can tell their signs. And then there's the case where you have two negatives next to each other. It's either going to look like this. It's going to look like this. You might have some signs in the middle. You might not. It might say 4 minus 5. Sometimes you're going to have two signs. Sometimes you're going to have one. But there's only one time when you have weird things, two negatives next to each other. All right, who's the smarty pants figured out what do you do when there's two negatives next to each other? The only time you actually have to mess with the problem, nothing over here, we can solve them just by looking at them. The only time you got to mess is this one right here. Yeah, maybe it has parentheses, maybe it doesn't. This is the only one you got to mess with. The other ones, you simply look at the two numbers and you just follow the rules. This is the one you actually have to absolutely positively. It also could look like this, right, where the first one's negative. But this is the only one right here where you actually have to do something. And what's the thing you got to do, Caden? I got to take these two minus signs right here and make them into 1 plus. Some kids will do this in their heads. I would recommend write it out at least until you are 100% comfortable with this. All the ones over here, you don't have to do anything. You just look at the two numbers. We'll talk about that in a second. These two right here are the ones that you have to change. All right, these two minus signs turn into 1 plus. These two minus signs, not that one, these two minus signs turn into 1 plus. Once that's done, all of the ones that I'm circling are basically the same type of problem. You simply look. Everybody okay with what I just did? So this is the only one you got to change. None of these do you have to do anything to except look. Let me show you how that works. So we look. Same or different signs.
Different.
Can everyone see that they're different? This one's negative, this one's positive. Okay, when the signs are different, what do?
You change it to roughly.
When the signs are different, what do? Subtract. Same or different? Where do you see same?
Because they're both positive.
This one's a minus and this one, well, there's nothing there, it's a positive. Different signs. Subtract. Hey, what are the signs?
Same.
So what do you do for same? Same or different?
Different.
That's it. That's the whole big boy, big girl rule. How do you add and subtract numbers? The only one you gotta change are this one, these two right here. When there's two minus signs next to each other. Not when the first one's negative and the second one, you don't worry about that. You worry about when there's two minus signs next to each other. All the other ones, the one that I just circled, you simply look and see if the signs are the same or different. If they're the same, you add. If they're different, you subtract. Every single problem is done that way. These are the only two you got to mess with. These are the only two that you got to mess with. All right, real quickly. Elijah. Here. Lunch.
Oh, no, never. Even if it was,
Gavin.
never.
I mean,
If it was
yes.
Subway.
I'm gonna screw things. All right, there.
Very, very, very sadly, yes.
Jalen. Matt. Malachi. Elizabeth's absent. Lily.
Absolutely not.
Keegan.
Yes.
Bo.
Yes.
Nick.
Yes.
All that food
Jaden.
goes here, Chris.
Yes, please.
Riley.
No.
Macy. Just say yes or no. But not present. This is lunch. Okay. Ace.
Yes.
Josh.
Yeah.
Pierce.
Yes.
Jason. Good Lord. Yes or no? Abby.
You did that on purpose.
Ben. Felicity.
Shh.
Jasmine. Caden.
No.
And no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, no,
Bo's job.
I can do it.
I'm sure you could, but you'd probably make all the people down in the office angry.
Actually, no, they really like it.
All right,
They even
back up here.
damn,
Back up here. Listen, please. All right, you guys are a little bit rambunctious today. Hey, I'm not joking when I say that this is as easy as what I just showed you. The kids that have problems like they get overwhelmed. Oh, there's too many signs up there. I don't know what to do. So one more time. The only problem that you ever have to actually change and give it any thought are the ones that have two minus signs between the two numbers. The first one's either going to be positive or the first one could be negative. Regardless of whether the first one's negative or positive, we don't mess with it. We mess with the two signs in between. We change those two signs into one positive. We change these two signs into one positive. Some kids can do this in their head. Other kids can't. They need to have it written down. Pick and choose whichever kid you are, you'll be fine. By the time you get to 8th grade, say Christmas time, you'll be doing the whole thing in your head. But some kids need to be able to look at this. Once that's done, then you simply look. I take my two fingers or your eyeballs, whatever you're using, and we look at the two signs. You're like, well, there's no sign in front of this 4. Well, that makes it positive. The sign in front, there's either going to be one sign or there's going to be two signs. Remember, we got rid of the two negatives. So the only time there's going to be two signs is when one is positive and the second one is negative. Doesn't matter. We look at the sign that's directly next to the number. It's negative. First one's positive. Those are different signs. Same or different? Same or different?
Different.
That's it. That's the whole shebang right there. Once you change those two negatives into one positive, that's not for every problem, that's just for a few of them. You simply look at the two signs, different, subtract. Same, add, different, subtract. That's it. That's the whole, that's everything together. Who's lost? Okay. So I'm going to hand out this worksheet with the answers. I don't want there to be messing around. I don't want there to be talking. I want there to be math done. This is where you 100% tell yourself, I got this, or I need some help.
Or you're going down in flames.
No, but I'm saying you are in 7th grade. Remember, this is our first shot at positive and negative numbers, right? I don't expect, I mean, I would like everyone to make an A on the test. It is that simple. And yes, I will put nice, friendly numbers. We open up the book, right? They immediately jump to, instead of it being 4 plus 5, it's going to be 441 plus 501. I'm like, okay, great. Now I got to worry about whether the kid's getting the question right or wrong, not because they don't understand what's going on with positive and negatives, but because they make a silly math mistake. So for me, I always put, not for 7th graders, not 8th graders, for 7th graders on a test, I'm going to put single digit numbers for that first test involving positive or negative numbers. None of you should get them wrong based upon the fact that you can't add 4 plus 2, or you can't subtract 6 minus 3. If I put 441 and 501, some kids will simply make a silly math mistake. Then I don't know whether or not you don't understand the rules of positive and negative, or it's because you are literally making a silly math mistake. So there is literally, it should be the easiest test ever. By the way, we still got a lot left of this chapter. We still got multiplication, still got division, and then we're gonna do some graphing as well too. Everything that's left in the chapter beyond today is the easy stuff. Believe it or not, the rules for division multiplication are actually pretty simple. They are different. We do have to learn 2 different rules now for multiplication and division. But trust me when I say they're pretty easy. And then the rest of the chapter is graphing. And the graphing thing is pretty easy as well too. Although there'll be mistakes being made in the graphing, but not because you don't understand what's going on. I will see, there will be one kid or 2 kids. I will see kids that don't understand this. Please don't be that kid. In the sense of it, you can absolutely not understand, but don't be that kid that sits there and literally, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm not going to say anything about it. Say something about it. This is when you learn it right now. Okay? I can get anyone in here to get to understand this stuff, but not if you don't admit to yourself you got a problem and then if you don't ask for help. I find out eventually when we get to test day, I'm like, wow, they really don't understand any of this. I give you a worksheet with answers for a reason. Why?
For the answers.
So you know, so you can tell right now that you got this or you don't got this. Everybody makes mistakes, right? You're gonna get 1 or 2 of these wrong. But the kid that gets it wrong and doesn't say, well, I know I got it wrong, but I don't know why I got it wrong, but I'm going to sit there and do nothing about it. You're not doing your job as a student. The kid that gets it wrong, and they're like, oh, yeah, negative. I was supposed to add. That's fine. I don't need to talk to that kid. I need to talk to the kid that looks at the 2 numbers, thinks they're supposed to do this. They do it. They flip it over. What? -5? Why isn't it 3? And they sit there and they're like, I don't know why, but I'm going to go to the next one. Don't be that kid. Okay, that was too long of a speech. Did you understand what that was all about?
Yeah,
All right, cool.
You
All right.
stopped at the right time, man.
Good.
I'm starting to zone
There's
out.
always a fine line between
I almost fell asleep.
a silly speech and a good speech.
I was slowly starting to see press.
Okay. Once again, listen, please. I'm giving you single digit numbers. There is one new thing. Hold on a second. I will show this to you. It's not really new. We did one of these like this, but the last, I believe it's 8 questions. Is that right, Pierce? The last 8 questions. The last 8 questions look like this. These are for, I've done all these silly problems. I can do it very quickly. Now I got to do some more challenging ones. Okay. What do you notice is different?
More numbers.
How many? 3. Did I get 4? Just 3. I just gave 3 numbers. Everybody look at the board. We've already had this conversation, right? If you have 3 or more numbers, Malachi, what do we do? By PEMDAS, what do we have to do? Okay, there's nothing going on inside the parentheses. There's no division. There's no exponents. There is addition and subtraction going on there. So which do we do first? Absolutely not. Ever. Ever. We don't ever do. You're exactly like me. I didn't pay attention in 7th grade either. All I knew was that there was this word PEMDAS, and the teacher jumped up and down and made a big deal about it, but I didn't really listen to. It was a her. No, it was a him in 7th grade. I didn't listen to him either, Malachi.
That's great.
I understand why you think you're supposed to do addition. Why? Because the A comes before the F. That's not what this says, Abby. It actually says you must go left to right. Did I make a big enough point? You might remember that this time,
Why
Malachi.
did they just put A?
By the way, that was chapter 1, and we've said it many times. You do both multiplication and division, and addition, subtraction, left to right. Okay, so I have, well, it looks like all I have here is subtraction. It's actually addition and subtraction. We're gonna go left to right. How many numbers can you add or subtract at one time, Malachi? That's why we only look at 2 numbers. Everybody with me? I look at the first 2 numbers. What do you notice, Malachi? I have 2 negatives next to each other. And I said the only time you're ever going to mess with something is when you have 2 negatives. What are you going to do? I'm going to make those 2 negatives into a positive. So I write 2 plus 6. And I do that. Same or different signs. So what's 2 plus 6? I write 8. And then what? And then I drop the number that I haven't messed with straight down, -4. Same or different? Different means add or subtract. Subtract those 2 numbers. More positives, more negatives. That's why the answer is 4. Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah.
Now, there can be lots of negatives floating around. Remember, the only time you're going to mess with negatives is like here, when there's 2 negatives between 2 numbers next to each. Turn around, Elijah. Try that one more time. All right. And remember, you still have attention. All right. The only time you're going to mess with the 2 minus signs is when they're next to each other. When they're like this, no big deal. First one's negative, or first one's positive, second one's negative, just different signs. You subtract the 2 numbers. Some people can do this whole thing in your head. Just be careful. There's no harm of writing this one time, all right, so that you don't make a silly mistake. All right, any questions about this right here before I hand out the worksheets? All right, there are how many questions? 40? There are 40 questions. All right, we have roughly 30 minutes. Right? You have plenty of time to do the entire worksheet. No, we're not going to mess around with the person next to us. No, we're not going to have conversations with the person next to you, even if you finish, which some of you will. Work through these at a comfortable pace. Don't speed through the thing and like, wow, I got 10 of them wrong. Right? If you get 1 of them wrong, you're going to stop. You're going to identify, well, what did I do wrong? If you can't identify, you're going to call me over. Hey, what did I do wrong, Mr. C? I will help you out. Hopefully you're not, if you get more than, let's say, 4 of them wrong, hopefully there's not a pattern. Well, actually, I said hopefully there is a pattern because then we can fix that really easy. All right? So maybe you're messing up when it looks like this, and we can work on that. Yes?
If you finish, could you like give us some double digit?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, pass them out. All right. Jameson's coming around with the basket. Go grab a basket over there, Jameson.
Can I sleep?
You can put what's in one of those baskets, and there's not an empty one that's just down. And then he's coming around to grab your worksheets from last night, and Pierce is coming around to hand out your worksheets. And then, like I said, we're not gonna. What we're doing right now in that little corner there, and this little corner right here, we're gonna work all by ourselves to make sure we got this. Yes.
When I finish, can I sleep?
No.
Wait, I never learned to do the addition.
You have 2 negatives next to each other. You have 2 negatives next to each other. So you write that as 1 plus 1. And I think you can handle that one.
No.
Hold on, let Ace finish. Which one? So, do we have two negatives next to each other? Do we have two negatives next to it? No, so then it's just simply, we look at the two signs, same or different. So different means add or subtract. Subtract those two numbers. That's it, you just subtract those two numbers. What's 5 minus 2? More negatives, more positives. So the answer is, now let's think about this on a number line. This is where, so we know the answer. You start at -5 and you get bigger by, that's why the answer is -3. Now that works great when you're doing single digit numbers when you have 57. I know, but there's a difference between the concept of what's physically going on, that's the number line idea, and the procedure, like what do I gotta do to get the answer, right? We're focusing on what do I gotta do to get the answer, but you can always go back to the visual approach of why is the answer -3?
Why is no one in the parking
They're making a parking lot. I don't know when the things are going to arrive, but as soon there's gonna be equipment out there and they're making the parking lot this week. At least that's the email that I got.
Yay, I get to see my picture.
All right. Separate. We'll get your work done.
Get to see my Mexican friend.
Jaden, turn around and get some work done. Thanks, Jameson. Everybody's got one. Gavin, get some work done. Are there two negatives next to each other? Are there two negatives? Well, notice there are two negatives next to each other. Well, yeah. Well, you got this?
Really?
Nothing wrong with 10 push-ups. 10 push-ups are good. Do some, you got 10? Just 10 push-ups, it's not that big. There's gotta be some talent in it.
He says that's for what?
Turn around and get to work. All right, go.
Just for a pencil, that's unfair. Wait, pencils are unfair. No, you go home after this pencil. Yes, I do. It's someone who's distracted.
Oh, look at you.
And they. My boy, you alright, girl? Yes, I boy. I get excited naked. That's like.
He was like, oh, I can. He was like, oh, I can do this. I just don't want to.
Jameson, take whatever's on your head off. Thank you.
That's a mask.
Oh, that's your mask. Put that back on your face like it's supposed to. I thought that was a hat. You got
Pierce
this?
wears hats.
Pierce stopped on Monday.
I stopped yesterday.
No, I took on
have
Tuesday.
mine on Monday.
On Monday or Tuesday. Today's Wednesday.
You took my flat on Monday.
Who are we looking for?
So, just look at the two sides.
My name is also.
What's next to the 8? Negative or positive? What's next to the 5? Negative or positive? Same or different? Add those two numbers. And then you're adding negative, so you're
693.
So literally, unless the two sides next to it, this is the only combination.
32 is
All the other
obvious.
ones, you simply look at the two sides, hey, are the two negatives next to each other? So look at the two sides, same or different. What do you do when they're different?
No, no.
What do you do for the Start your own records. There you go.
I only need one side left on the side. Dude, make, I never broke the law. 105.
David, some stuff, see if Jasmine's homework from yesterday was good or so. I think she left her homework. Jasmine, she says you gave it to me.
Mine. There goes the
Look
brain.
at your stuff. Just in case. I know you turned yours in, but I'm saying look through your stuff you made. And
There goes the brain. Hi. How are you?
Elijah,
Yes.
turn around.
Oh, then I guess it's.
Anybody struggling?
No.
Are you checking your answers?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Remember, the only one you gotta mess with is when the two negatives are next to each other. All the other ones, you simply say, look at the two sides, same or different.
I
The
promise I'm not.
same you add, they're different, you subtract. You do the subtraction, you still gotta do the big minus small and ask yourself more negatives, more positives. And then make sure, I would not do two and then flip it over, check the answer. Flip it over, check the answer. Don't do 20 of them and say, look, I got 10 of them wrong.
Whoa, how'd that happen?
Well,
I don't have it.
Well,
Jasmine, she doesn't have it.
Oh. I know what I did wrong on that.
What are you doing? You got it. That's a horrible equal sign. Oh, there is no equal sign. Put equal signs.
No,
What? Well, it's instead of just doing them and getting some of them wrong, always check your answer out what you can. Well, first off, are there two negatives next to each
Well, it was right.
other? Are there two negatives next to each other? Are there two negatives next to each other? I know. Are there two negatives next? Yes. Are there two negatives next to each other? Okay, that was the first thing. As long as you basically say yes on this and no on that, then everything else is good. Okay, now we simply look at the signs. What is the sign of this?
Wow, that was 40 questions.
You don't have to ask. If not, it's more positive.
I figured you'd realize I didn't get this one.
Oh, no, you got the full
That
body
makes
plan.
sense.
You chose
So
text
40
right,
questions
text
in like
right.
5 minutes. I doubt that. Maybe you should be in the start class.
It's probably the quiz on the first day.
How do you know you're not wrong?
Maybe you should be both yeah, when you started the GT test required a lot of math. Like what?
21.
Oh, what is it?
Oh, really? I 26, right? I turns out to be a pretty good only like 3 people. Every single year I was at Money Ranch and GT, I got my phone.
Is that your wife? How much?
Oh, we do this little podcast where we're like the best person gets it published.
Oh, I remember.
I got it published 3 years in a row. How's 4th year? We're not doing that. That's never.
What's
Oh,
the
but that's-
number?
I wonder if you could pull any
I
of
think
these
I'm a steal. Doesn't that seem like us?
Yeah, I would have tried this.
I put 3 fusion chargers coming out of the hood.
Me gets sick and this team. No, just imagine.
No, and it's kind of like, my boss out, she's like, what are you doing? Nothing, working on the car. She's like, did you buy no?
7 minus 6.
Well, you're not.
You have to know, Bush.
Cheeseburger. Cheeseburger. Cheesecake.
Keep working. Keep working.
Okay, I got a third one.
How we doing? Kicking butt? Anybody having big problems? I'm getting most of these wrong. That's crazy. I usually have at least 1 or 2 kids.
I'll admit to it.
We'll find out on test day.
Yeah.
We
will. Oh.
Gavin, you know the key minnows? I had the centaur. Hold on, Mr. Chartier. Well,
Yeah.
if it's a minus sign, every.
Are there 2 negatives next to each other? Are there 2 negatives next to each other? So you got it written right, so same or different. So what's the rule for different? Subtract those 2 numbers.
That's like 2. And that's like
More negatives, more positives. More negatives or more positives? That's where it's a mistake. So you didn't ask that last thing, which was more. The only time you ask more negative or positive when you subtract. When add, you don't ask that question. And that's why they just make it button. Yeah. We're just gonna do 2 numbers at a time. So basically, you're gonna cover up that second number and you're gonna treat it just like the rest of them. Same or different. So what do you do for different? Subtract those 2 numbers.
Yeah, it's our homework. What do you think? It doesn't say
More
homework.
negatives, more positives.
It says worksheet.
So positive 6, the right 6. And then you're gonna uncover this. And you're right. Whatever's there, you're gonna write. Well, you're gonna write exactly what's there. So it says plus minus 5. Okay, same or different signs. So what do you do for different signs? Subtract those 2 numbers. More positives, more negatives. That's why the answer is 1. Put it equal. Josh, what number are you on?
I'm done.
Josh.
Josh and Bo.
It's easy. You put random numbers and hope it's right.
Same or different signs.
Every 7 years, he was
Why
like
do you think they're
7 boys and 7
Why
girls.
do you think you're different?
Coincidence.
Why do you think the 7's a positive? Look at the sign that literally is next to it.
year. Does that
Agreed, but remember, sometimes they're gonna write 2 signs. Sometimes they're not gonna write 2 signs. When they don't write 2 signs, then there's only 1 sign to go with the number. So the only sign that can go with that 7 is a negative. The only sign that can go with that 5 is that negative. Both of these are negative. So they're the same sign. If they want to make it positive, they're gonna put a second sign there, right? So that's why this one is negative and this one, I mean, they're trying to differentiate. Hey, look, I want to make sure everyone knows that was negative. So there's either going to be 2 signs or there's not going to be 2 signs. And the only time that you mess with those 2 signs are the ones when there's 2 negatives next to each other. But when there's just 2 signs right here, not next to each other, then you just say whether they're the same or different. When it becomes weird is when there's one of them is positive, the first one's positive, they don't put a plus 8, minus 7. But it's still there. Are you make sure you're checking this around?
Yeah.
All right. That's good. Out of 8,
Coconut.
I will say I don't see.
Coconut ball.
And there's no way to.
Keegan's brother went coconut ball too.
There's no way. I agree that this
Did you see Keegan's
potentially
brother?
could be zero.
He went coconut ball.
So
Maybe I just did that. and-
you didn't because look, there's two negatives next to
No,
each
these are
other.
actually random. Yes.
That's positive
correct.
14.
Good.
And then I'll say
It's not last,
now I'm worried.
Yep, I passed
Negative.
not even 30. I agree.
All right, let me check to see if anybody's online right now. There is no one online. Online kids, I'm going to stop this right now. If you have any questions, send me a chat or email.